All right, there we go. Let's get Facebook in here, rocking and rolling, and we can start our show, our Wednesday show. Gosh, we are a week away from the eve of the NFL season. We got the wheels spinning, still spinning one, and a come on. Well, you know what? We'll just pretend. The vibes say it's going. And that's also how my brain is. 4 out of 5. Oh, there's the fifth one. There we go. Welcome in. Welcome in. It is Wednesday morning, 7:40 a.m. Mountain Time. It's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell, joined by Erick Trickel. Erick, I got to say, I'm already missing the facial hair. It's a little jarring. I kind of missed the mustache, but we're out here. How was Monday? Did you guys miss me? Did you stay out of trouble?
Yeah, I mean, it was fine, minus the confusion on my end for the morning. But we got it going. It was a good time. It was a good conversation with Dylan, talking about, some of the roster cuts that had already been made up to that point. And now it's going to be a fun conversation talking about the rest of the roster cuts that have been made and if there were any surprises or not, which will now be my third consecutive day of getting to talk about roster cuts.
Well, guess what? This will be my first day, and I'm still learning because I was out in the mountains since Monday morning. So climbed a pretty big peak out in the North Cascades. Not technical, didn't have to carry ice axe or any class 5 climbing, but there was some class 4 stuff. So my knees are screaming today. It's an old forest road, has been out of commission for like 40 years. So 3 miles on that. And then it's straight up from there to the campsite. It's 4 miles, 4,000 feet gained. I think maybe even 5,000 feet gained, and no water. So I was probably carrying about a 50-pound pack. And it was also very hot out here in the Cascades. So almost died to camp. And then we woke up at 3:30 to make that summit push the next day and then hiked out. So did something a lot of people do in 3 days. I only had one night. So we did it and made it. And I'm pretty tired and sore today. But you know what? You make do with what the days that you have. And shout out to my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful wife for holding down the fort with the 20-month-old while I go out there and chase epic sunrise views and summits because I love my kid, but man, I also love the mountains. I'm excited for the days when I can hopefully take him out and do some of those crazy things as well. It was beautiful. So yeah, appreciate everyone. Hope you didn't miss me too much on Monday, and shout out to Erick and Dylan for holding it down. We got people coming in here. David Yunkin, morning, everyone. Is it a surprise that Strnad is on the 53 and not the practice squad? After we saw him hold his own last season, I guess I should put that in quotes, hold his own, because it was not great the more he played, but he brings special teams value. He's somebody who's been on the team for longest tenured Bronco, I think, right now on the roster
Yes,
as
I believe
well.
so.
It's either him or Bowles. He brings special teams ability. So not necessarily a surprise, but he is somebody that you go over the roster of the Broncos, linebacker depth and quality is one of the spots that's like, that could be a problem this season. And if Strnad plays any significant number of starting snaps, we could be in some trouble. We know we got through it last season, got through it being the operative term, but not ideal by any means.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that he was the only depth linebacker that has experience in the NFL, like outside of some special team reps for Lavelle Bailey, and had starting experience in this defense. So not surprising. And he showed some pretty good improvement in where he could in, the preseason. And I think the Broncos are kind of betting on that. He was one of those guys that was not quite a lock to make it, but was more likely than not to make the 53-man roster just because of all the details that go into it with his status, the experience, special teams ability, all that.
Yeah, he wasn't a surprise to me for making it. We'll get into that a little bit. I do want to say hello to some more folks. Jermaine is in the house. Good to see you. Coach Chris, one of our members, Jermaine, David, we're still waiting for you guys to become members, but we got Coach Chris in our corner saying good morning, my fellow Bronco brothers and sisters. Great to see you, Coach. And speaking of one of our superstars who's gifted out so many memberships and also always contributing to the show with these super chats, Michael Ronquillo out there in sunny Tucson, Arizona. Hopefully you are not too sweltering down there. I don't know. It's been really hot up here in the Pacific Northwest. He says, good morning, Go Bo Broncos. Yeah, because of my mountain choices, Erick, I missed my fantasy football draft, so we auto-drafted, which never ideal. Team looks okay, and my starting quarterback is Sir Borelius Chapman Nixerbacher. I don't know. We have somebody come up with a good Bo Nix related name for me. Typically, our league names have been all the team names have had taint involved somehow. But that's just it's a good time. So yeah, I don't know if that's PG or not in here, but we're having a good time. Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much, Michael. And I'm a little bit more skin in the game with Bo Nix being a top quarterback this season. Hopefully, we see some quarterback run options near the goal line to get those extra points. Good morning from Rob Bucksbaum. Good morning. Good to see you. I know you like Lewis Sign coming out. He's released thoughts on him over Devon Key or Skinner. He's had injury issues, I think. Once those guys go through the draft, and I don't always pay attention unless they kill it and I loved them, and then I want to ring that bell and look how smart I am. But yeah, he first round pick, I think. Man, that's
absolutely terrible. Outside of injuries, been absolutely terrible.
Yeah, safeties, linebackers, and tight ends. Man, I know that Denver's really could use a long-term young linebacker. Scares the absolute what out of me thinking about using a first-round pick on a linebacker right now. So, I mean, the question is, do you like him more at special teams than Skinner? Because that's essentially what you're doing right now. The other aspect is that because he was waived and a first-round pick, he probably has a decent contract. So if he passes through waivers, maybe you talk about it, but I don't know if you're going to want to take him on his contract.
I don't think so, because I think he was waived at one point, cleared waivers.
He cleared waivers already,
and then at some point had to go signed it because he was with the Vikings and they're the ones who initially waived him. And I don't think he was claimed off waivers from there and ended up signing a deal. Yeah, he ended up signing with the Eagles after that. So
wow,
he's not on that rookie contract anymore. But yeah, he's been absolutely terrible on defense, terrible on special teams. It's why I think he's now going on his fourth team already since entering the NFL.
Man,
maybe it's only third, but he just hasn't been able to catch on just because the play's been so bad.
That's horrific. Not horrific. Good to got Brooklyn official music coming in. We also need you to be a member of Brooklyn. All of our people are in here a lot. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you coming in. Member Jason Bonney, good to see you, Jason. Hope you're doing so good. Appreciate all you guys coming in, hanging out with us. We got Mark Hoynack, morning all. Let's go Broncos, so close. Yeah, the season is so close. You can almost taste it. Dave Glassman in the house. Welcome back. Yeah, it was a great time in the mountains. We got Chase coming in, of course, 95 Chase. Good to see you, Chase. Hope you're doing well. The Bookmeister in the house. Clayton Huron on Facebook. Facebook was having some issues, so hopefully everybody is hanging out with us in the YouTube side of things. We got the Bookmeister. See, peer pressure works, guys. Now everybody should take a shot. No, I don't know. Bookmeister coming in, joining us as a team member now. Great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us as a team member. You guys are killing it. We got a lot. I see a lot of green in the chat, so you guys are doing great. We do have to take care of a little bit of business, though, Eric, of course, before we get going too far and talking about fantasy football. The season is here, man.
Yeah, football's back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and so much more.
That's right. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. So if you think you got a beat on what Bo Nix or any Broncos player are going to do week one, download Underdog today and win some money.
Yeah, I have so much fun playing Underdog, and winning money while watching football, that's a touchdown. You guys, download the app today and sign up with promo code MHuddle to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code MHuddle. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
Be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Well, there you have it. I think I do that read better, Eric. I'm just going to say maybe they should hire me to do the speed read. Good to see everybody in here joining us. Did see some more questions coming in. Brookland official says, am I the only one who wasn't wowed by Courtney Jackson? I'm sorry, but clearly an easy cut for me. Potential was there, but when he got opportunities, he fell short even against the Saints cut candidates. Yeah, I'm not overly shocked or anything here, but he did well in the second preseason game. And he offers some special teams ability too. So not shocked that once they moved on from Vele, obviously keeping 5, but he's still somebody who's valuable to keep on the practice squad, as is the other wide receiver. Hopefully they bring him back as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's happens today here in just a matter of a few hours, actually. In a little over 2 hours is when the waiver wire goes through and teams can start signing to the practice squad. Gordon Jackson's one of those guys. He just never did enough to make the roster, especially after they traded Vele. And the big issue hit with him is he's very Marvin Mims light. Like he's undrafted rookie version of Marvin Mims. Gadget player on offense. They used him that way. That's what you saw him do on offense. Had a bad fumble as well in the preseason. And then as a returner, his decision making was hit or miss. Can't fault him too much for taking, making bad decisions on punt returns, trying to make something happen. But you also got to kind of show that restraint in the preseason as well as, making the most of every opportunity. He was very hit or miss. Not surprised he got cut. There's some stuff to work with, and I would expect him to clear waivers and be back on the practice squad. But maybe a team does take a flyer on him. Remember, if they get claimed off waivers, they have to make the 53-man roster. They immediately go to it. And so maybe there's a team out there that's looking for a returner, and they end up taking a shot on him. But I would expect him back on the practice squad at the very least.
Yeah. Keep an eye out. We should find out here soon. Good to see you, Roy. A couple of little surprise cuts. Other than that, I think it's straightforward. Yeah, we had a lot of questions with wide receiver with Vele and how that would trickle down, but a few surprise cuts. We'll get into it here in just a second, but nothing too shocking. And Coach, I did say taint. I don't know why my wife's friends thought the word was hilarious, and it's a fantasy league with them, and that's where we're at. We're all 12 years old in our heads. What's up, Broncos Maniacs? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Great to see you. Stoney Stanley, good morning. How about them Broncos? We're chilling. We're good. We got Troy coming in. Yeah, a little Broncos news. Tim Patrick trade confirms Vele interest by Jax. Which Broncos having a breakout year helps the team the most? Ooh, this is a good one. So, yeah, the Tim Patrick news, 6th round, conditional 6th, I think maybe, or just a 6th straight up.
I can't remember exactly for sure.
But yeah, Vele would have been obviously somebody they're interested in. Man, they already have Travis Hunter. Obviously, it's a team. Maybe they'll be going to our 3 wide receiver looks there and have somebody out there like Patrick who can offer some blocking for them with Brian Thomas, who right now might be the best wide receiver out of that stacked 2024 class. We'll wait and see. Neighbors up there. See about Marvin Harrison Jr. Which Broncos player having a breakout this year helps the team the absolute most? It's probably, man, I always come back to value, Eric. The answer is probably Pat Bryant, like coming in and like having like, oh my gosh, he's Puka Nacua, just because you get so much value from wide receiver, the 4 years of control still from him. And I don't know if you can call a rookie a breakout. I guess you still can. So I think the answer is probably Pat Bryant, both immediately and long term. I was going to say Jonah Ellis because I think there's a chance that he does break out this year. But you already have a pretty solid room there, and there's not as many starting snaps available as I think there would be for Pat Bryant. So I think my answer is probably Pat Bryant, wide receiver, the second highest paid position. You're looking for a guy long term. So I'll go Pat Bryant.
It really depends on how you're defining breakout year.
Yeah.
Right. Because you could argue that Bo Nix still hasn't had a breakout year. He had a great year last year where he was 15, but he was like 15th to 20th as a quarterback in the NFL. And breakout year would, top 10. If he does that, obviously that's going to be the one that helps the most. But I mean, you went Pat Bryant. I think, any one of those receivers is a good choice. Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, even having more of a breakout as a receiver, more so than a returner. Maybe, Jonah Ellis is a good one. But RJ Harvey, like if you want to go with the rookie, he would be him breaking out. Maybe not necessarily the same value as you get out of a Pat Bryant or a Troy Franklin, but getting that run game and an explosive run game just can help change a lot of the dynamic with the offense and the way defenses handle it. So I'd probably go, honestly, I'd go Bo Nix because
Bo Nix. Yeah.
But outside of that, RJ Harvey.
Yeah, I didn't even consider Bo Nix, but you're absolutely right. I mean, last season he was somewhere, call it what you want. You guys can fight me on this one. Let's say anywhere from the 14th to the 22nd best quarterback in the NFL. But if he breaks out and is undoubtedly like top 6 to 8 range, I mean, that obviously helps the Broncos the most. And when you mention the wide receivers, for me, which one helps them the most? 4 years of control with Pat Bryant, 3 years of control with Troy Franklin, 2 years with Marvin Mims. Give me the 4 years on that. That's the tiebreaker. But yeah, Bo Nix can break out and establish himself as like a week-to-week dude that the offense runs through. Like right now, I've said it out so many times on these shows, Eric. I'm comfortable saying I think he can be a Brock Purdy quarterback where he's, if you point him in the right direction, he can do things and he can make enough plays to get you going. But it's the trucker trailer debate. Right now, I think he's fine. He is capable of being a trailer, which on a rookie contract with Sean Payton and the way the Broncos are built right now, great. With the information we have, the fact that I already feel confident doing that, given how much I'm like typically pump the brakes sample size guy. Anybody who's followed long enough knows that like, oh, Nick must be pretty high on Bo Nix this season. But as far as Sean Payton talking about him being a top 3, not even close to having that conversation yet for me. So that's a good one. It probably is Bo Nix to that caliber when you talk about it.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting you to say. So when he said Pat Bryant, I was caught off a little bit off guard. But I mean, I can also understand the whole thing of people thinking that, well, he doesn't really qualify with the year he had. But I still think breakout year, as you said, 14 to 22, that's about where he was. And getting him in the top 10, I think that would be a breakout year, like anywhere in the top 10.
Absolutely.
And it goes in, we actually had a question of what are we sold on Bo Nix? Not fully, but also not sold, I think is the best way to put it. It's one of those things where he had a great rookie year and it's just a matter of seeing what he does from here. There are still limitations to his game that we got to see improvements on and to help him take it to the next level and really kind of settle down on what type of quarterback he is. And that's just kind of what you're getting into with, the truck versus trailer whole conversation there. So sample size still needed. I would say he's on the right track, but still got to see more out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Nate also saying, people are saying we need a wide receiver. What do you think now? And good morning. Broncos don't need a wide receiver because they have numbers, but we are still waiting for quality number 2 level play to emerge. So it's something that the Broncos trading Bailey, they must be happy in the room. I think they are happy with the room, but let's say an injury happens or you're not, Franklin's still kind of a 3 or 4, Mims is just too gadgety, and Patrick is fine but not great. You can make a move for another pass catcher at the deadline or next offseason. So it's one where you have a lot of options, a lot of dice rolls in front of you, and maybe you roll double 6s twice. Who knows? But still very wait and see. But you do feel good to have so many options. I'm not much of a board game player, Eric, too ADD. It's probably one of the reasons I'm hiking stuff because I'm moving the whole time when I do that. So I'm actively engaged. But it's like a board game where you have to hit, over 10 and you have a card come up. Oh, you get 4 dice rolls to roll an over 10 rather than just 1 or 0, right? Like your odds are so much better because you have all those young guys who could emerge into that player. So we'll see. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you feel good that you can at least roll one of those 10s. You probably have a board game equivalent or something. I should leave it to you.
I was gonna say, is it a bad thing of when you started talking about a board game for it, and I'm sitting there rolling through my Rolodex of board games that I have, trying to figure out what game fits that description?
Yeah, I'm like, is it Catan? No, okay, then I haven't played it probably. I'm basic. I played Catan plenty, but I am I always go for that mineral. So that's my move. But go ahead.
With the wide receiver room, I think the best way to put it is they're optimistic, but they still got to see it. Right. Yep. They're optimistic in this room turning out, but it's now a matter of you've done well in the preseason, you've done well in camp. Now it's time to do it in the regular season. And I just think that's where they're at. And if by the trade deadline, they're not getting what they expected, yeah, I can see them make a move for another wide receiver just because that's not what they're not getting what they thought they would. Troy, maybe, I'm going to get crap for this, but maybe Troy Franklin is one of those guys that has a great preseason, great camp, and then falters in the regular season. We've seen it many times before with receivers with the Broncos specifically over the last few years. Brandon Johnson comes to mind. Never quite took that next step. Or maybe it's Marvin Mims who doesn't take that next step. Or maybe it's Pat Bryant. Maybe it's Trent Sherfield. Maybe it's all of them. Point is if they don't get it realized on the field during the regular season, that opens the door for them to be like, we still got to get somebody. And so we're going to make a move at the deadline. But they're optimistic about this room. If they weren't optimistic about this room, they wouldn't have traded Vele.
Yeah. And as much as I hate to appeal to authority, I think the Payton duo has proven themselves pretty well. We still want to see them take that next step, and I've heard many times said we haven't been here, Eric, so I haven't covered the team in this kind of realm, but it's much easier to go from bad to good, but going from good to great is very hard. Very, very hard. That's a harder step to make. So I think we've definitely gone from bad to good. Great. We'll see. Good to see you, Nate. Thank you so much for joining us on Facebook. If you guys haven't done so, we have way more folks over on the YouTube side of things. But we do want to talk about the cuts. Eric, anybody too surprising? I think for me, the one that I guess I'm the most surprised about is Caleb Lohner. I thought that they'd try to protect him as a tight end and keep him active. It seems like, though, at the end of the day, they thought he might be able to sneak through and keep him on the practice squad. Hopefully they have some insight. I know they drafted him in the 7th round specifically because they thought some teams were after him. But, now that he's been in the building for a little bit, is anybody going to claim him? Maybe not. Is he going to sign somewhere else if he passes through waivers? He'd probably rather stick with the team that's, he knows the system and everything. Unless somebody's throwing him more money, or I don't know exactly how that could work. But Lohner, I think, is the one that surprises me the most, along with, of course, Lavelle Bailey.
Yeah, with Caleb Lohner, it was one guy that I was going back and forth on because there were teams that were looking his way in the 7th round to draft him. The Indianapolis Colts were one of them. They ended up passing on it. There were other teams. Baltimore Ravens were one who I think were picking not long after the Broncos selected him. And they either traded away or they selected somebody else, but they were looking his way. So there were multiple other teams, and there was a lot of teams already calling for an undrafted free agent contract with him because of the athleticism. So the issue is when you look at his preseason, it was awful. It was very obvious this dude has 57 snaps of college football, and that's it. The pre-snap penalties, the motion penalties, all the not being set, all those are such a problem for it. And so it's, do you claim him, put him on your roster, and basically make him a cemented game day inactive for the season? Because he's not going to be seeing the field, barring injury. And even with an injury, it's a thing of, I think they would just bring somebody else in and still keep him inactive over starting him because he needs so much work. And I think that was part of the conversation with the Broncos of what value does he bring as a guaranteed game day inactive when if somebody goes down, we're still going to bring other people in instead of putting him, seeing if he clears waivers, making him on the practice squad. So they were willing to take that risk of him getting claimed. I'm sure that if he doesn't get claimed, even if other teams come calling, that he'll choose to stick with Denver because that's a team he's already been working with instead of going to unfamiliar grounds, which can be, career killing for guys who need as much work as he does. So I think they have confidence in him. And then with Lavelle Bailey, real quick, it was surprising in the moment. And then when you hear Sean Payton go like, oh yeah, Karine Reed, I spent hours trying to recruit him. There were multiple other teams after him, and we thought he was going to get claimed off waivers. It's like, okay, I get it. Same reason why they kept Frank Crum. They had trade teams last year and this year. They had teams calling to trade for him this year. And last year they didn't think he'd claim waivers. He was a coveted undrafted free agent. That fear kept him on the 53-man roster. Same thing with Reed. Maybe maybe they get a waiver claim today and he's that cut. Maybe they make a trade for a linebacker and he's the corresponding cut. But overall, it's not surprising once you heard Payton talk about it, it made Bailey getting cut far less surprising.
Yeah, I am definitely with you on that. I do think there was a show where we talked a little bit about the undrafted free agents for the Broncos, and Reed was a name that I had heard spoken up, making moves in training camp. I don't think he stood out so much in the preseason games, but he was a name that I heard multiple times talking around. But also was hearing Lavelle Bailey a lot. Bailey, though, for what he brings, does have warts, not as physical of a player, and that translates both to the run fits as well as special teams. And if you are a depth player, that's important. So we're talking about physicality and tackling and everything. We got Jelly asking about Chad Muma. I don't remember who it was that was obsessed with Muma in that draft class, but yeah, he's not been good for Jacksonville. Again, another player who struggles with physicality and tackling. I mean, practice squad, sure. I mean, what does that hurt or anything? But as far as kicking anybody off the roster, I think Broncos probably lean Reed, keeping Reed with all the years of control than bringing in Muma.
Yeah, Muma is the guy that I highlighted. I did an article yesterday about 8 players that cut from other teams Broncos could look at. Muma was one of them. And I made it clear, is like, I don't think he would make it for the 53-man roster, but practice squad, just because he's got experience. And there have been some flashes of, why he was such a highly thought of prospect. There's been some flashes of it, but it's never been consistent enough to where Jacksonville's has been, ever since drafting, Jacksonville's always like, we're going to try to get an upgrade over you every single year. And so you still can take those flashes and bet on it. But part of the thing as to why not the 53-man roster is his issues, not only physicality, but he's also having issues in coverage and special teams. And you have Justin Strnad, who is the backup to Alex Singleton, and Karine Reed, who is a coverage linebacker backup to Dre Greenlaw. Sean Payton made that very clear. And Reed, I think, is the one that's at the most risk over Strnad, and Muma's not an upgrade over that. So practice squad, I could see it, but I wouldn't think it's a waiver claim for the 53-man roster.
Yeah, I don't think so either. One thing that he does have going for him, maybe the Broncos as well, is he was birthplace Denver, Colorado. Maybe has family in the area. Maybe, that'd be a tiebreaker for some practice squad stuff. And Denver's long-term looking for linebacker help. So maybe there's something there. But we will see. Anybody else really surprising for you? You already kind of took the next point I want to talk about was Crum. That I put in the description box for this episode about Sean Payton's comments and him talking about teams calling about trading for Frank Crum for the Broncos when he is their 5th offensive tackle right now, maybe 4th. We'll see with Palczewski. But Parrott seemed to take a step forward this season. You have Palczewski, of course, last season held his own at right tackle for a bit. And then you have Crum. I'm pretty surprised. Denver must be pretty high on him to not trade him. Now, granted, what was the trade offers? We had the Falcons trade a conditional 2027 7th for him. Are those the offers you're talking about for Crum? Because at the end of the day, that's nothing really. You're just giving him up at that point. But 2 years in a row, they've protected him. They must like him. I know that he has some issues out there. You see the body type. I mean, the body type is maybe not central casting, but pretty high up there as far as the physical profile, but still a work in progress. But keeping him twice, you have to follow their actions, right? They have plans for him. They must really like him.
Yeah, I mean, last year he was probably like that 53rd player to make it. He was just awful in the preseason. This year, slight improvements. The technique was a little bit better, but there were still a lot of issues with his game overall. But it could be, there's multiple reasons why they could be working with development. He was considered a pretty long-term project, just a complete technical mess coming out of Wyoming. Just pure athlete, one with athleticism, just got to get all together. So they're taking that time to invest in it. And if, depending on what those offers were, it could be a head scratcher as to why they turned it down. But if it is a, 2027 conditional 7th, then no, I get it, because another year of development, he can go out next year and absolutely kill it in the preseason. And maybe that conditional 2027 7th, or would, a year later, 2028, maybe that is now a guaranteed 2027, 2028 5th round pick, or, 2 picks over 2 years, and just be able to get even more, because anything is a positive return of investment. Dude was an undrafted free agent. Or they can sit there and continue to develop with him over this year and next year. And then after, next season, prior to 2027, you can get out of both Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles' contracts. And depending on what he shows, that can make one of those decisions a little bit easier. And, being able to turn to him. So overall, it's fine. I don't think he played himself to it, but it's not always about how you play to make it. There's a lot of elements that go into making the 53-man roster. I mean, we talked about it with Reed. We're talking about it with Crum. They're just willing to take their time, see if he can develop. And, if a better offer comes, I'm sure they'll take it. Even though teams are calling, I just don't think that offers were good enough for them to take it now.
Yeah. Yeah. A few others just standing out to me, signing the ones that we were questioning about. They do keep 4 running backs. They keep.
That was never a question.
It wasn't. I think it was before the Vela. Okay.
No,
all right. I feel like some people were questioning it, but they do end up keeping 4.
In the last 10 years, 95% of teams, it's like 90, almost 96% of teams have kept 4 running backs. Even if they kept a fullback, they still kept that 4th running back. It's the norm now.
Okay. Unless you're the Atlanta Falcons with Algier and Bijan, keeping 7 wide receivers and 7 cornerbacks, I guess. But yeah, Broncos with 4. Glad to see Bidet make it. You're second best pass protector, maybe your best. I mean, he'd probably give JK a run for his money. And glad they're keeping him and Jaleel at the end. Offensive line wise, the one who stands out as maybe a little bit surprising is Forsyth. I thought Throckmorton looked a little better, but I think they're playing the game where Throckmorton probably is saved and Forsyth has.
There's definitely a under the table agreement for him to come back on the practice squad,
Yeah.
just like last year.
Yep, he's one of those company guys at this point, it feels like. So keeping an eye on that. But Forsyth, we had questions about the Broncos keeping Owazarike or Jordan Jackson. They end up keeping both 7 interior defensive linemen. I really do like to see that. So congratulations to both of them. And other than that, the cornerback, edge, obvious guys you kept. Safety was one, obviously. Sam Franklin. Wasn't sure about the special teams of Sam Franklin versus the cap savings potentially of PJ Locke, and you got Devon Key edging out at the end. So any thoughts? I'll ask first about the interior defensive lineman. That's a spot sneaky on the Broncos, maybe long term, but you keep Ua, you keep Jackson. Are either of those guys potentially one of your cuts that happen here? That kind of the waiver movement guys call up, call down with the 7 dudes, because we weren't sure if either of those guys would make it, and you keep all 7.
Yeah, real quick with Throckmorton and Forsyth,
Yeah.
I just wanted to add is that Forsyth also had, not only is Throckmorton coming to guy, Forsyth has a little bit more versatility. He's also the guy that's pegged to be the starting center next year, whereas Throckmorton's just a guard. As for the defensive line, I think it's a position that they would like to upgrade over that, that 6th spot, maybe even that 5th spot, moved Savion Jones down the depth chart a little bit, just because of how much of a liability he's been against the run. I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking at the waiver wire or even trades to improve that. It's one of those positions where if they do get a waiver claim, I could see Uwa or Jackson being the guy that's let go. Just same with Ree. Like, it would probably be that conversation for it. And we're getting down to the 53-man roster. Yesterday, we were sitting at, I think it was like sitting at 54 players waiting for that, or 55 players waiting for that last one, because everybody figured Samuel Ellinger was going to get cut, even though he's the final one. And it was, who is it? Is it going to be Jackson? Is it going to be Uwa? Is it going to be Reed? And all 3 of them ended up making it, and they end up going a different way. So it's a one that they're definitely I think they're looking at improving a little bit. Jackson just hasn't done enough in the preseason. He had one great play against the second team of the 49ers and then disappeared. And I mean, he showed up against the 3rd unit for the 49ers and then disappeared for the rest of the preseason. Uwa is still a guy that gives you 4 bad plays for 1 good one. So yeah, it's one that I definitely think that they are looking to improve on.
Yeah, just looking at the roster, I mean, you did take Savion Jones, who was always going to be more of a guy they were looking to bring along. There was rumors, right? The Broncos had some interest in Jordan Birch, and he ended up not making it down that far, kind of the same body type.
Killing it in Arizona this preseason, by the way.
What was that?
Birch killed it in Arizona this preseason.
Yeah, he's going to be a good one. Yep, I liked him a good bit. Also, there's Alfred Collins, who they looked at, linked to as well. Though he had some injury concerns, I can't remember.
Dealing with injuries with the 49ers too right now.
Yep, but early 2nd round pick, so not really much of a chance for Denver on that one. But we're keeping an eye on the interior defensive line. And then finally the safety room. I guess I'm a little surprised Key makes it. It didn't feel like he was overly impressive when he had a chance last season. I know he's a young player still, but not like a special teams dynamo by any means either. But he makes it. You got the chat already talking about it. Franklin going to the Bills. I saw the Bills just returned Jordan Poyer, signed Jordan Poyer back as well. So they're looking for some safety help. They were old and slow. They were slow there last year. I don't know if Franklin or Poyer helps with any speed on the back end there by any means. But I guess I am a little surprised because I know we talked about it a lot with Rizzy loving Franklin so much, and I didn't think Key was a big enough player. It must have just been they like JL Skinner enough in that kind of role with the special teams at the end of the day. But safety is the last one where it's like, okay, that's maybe a little bit not exactly what I expected, but very back on the roster. How much does that matter? I don't know.
Yeah, Sam Franklin was the guy that they really wanted back on the practice squad, and not long after, his agent's like, yeah, we're not signing back with you. We're not looking at the practice squad, and now we need to see why. He had a roster spot that was offered to him in Buffalo, and he took it.
Yeah.
So I think what the difference was is Sam Franklin was loved for his special teams ability, but we never saw it on defense, right? And I think that with JL Skinner, who was a great special teams player for Denver last year, one of the few good, like great ones for them, and he was doing really well this preseason. I think that he just kind of edged him out for that special teams role. And without seeing it on defense from Franklin, I think they kind of went with a guy who showed a little bit more in Devin Key, even though it wasn't great. It was still more than Franklin, and he was seeing the field earlier than Franklin. He was often that, second team there with PJ Locke. He was the primary backup when Locke was still out with his recovery from his back surgery. Key was the third safety in. So I think that just kind of kept them around, the familiarity with the defense. And then, again, Skinner pushing Franklin out on special teams, wanted him back on the practice squad, and he said no, got a roster spot elsewhere. So good for Franklin, and we'll see how it works out for Denver.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. We got Jason asking thoughts about Kobe and Harrison Bryant getting cut. I saw earlier, Jason, I wasn't going to say anything, but you mentioned Kobe Bryant being a 4th round pick. He was undrafted. He went undrafted, and he was everybody's excited because he was a big name prospect, relatively in those circles. But he went undrafted for a reason, and he wasn't overall very exciting for Atlanta. I also cover the Falcons as well, and Kobe, a lot of commenters early on, and those went quiet relatively quickly. Harrison Bryant, I'm not so sure about, but I don't have much thoughts on Kobe Bryant other than he's going to be on a practice squad somewhere, and that's probably where he spends a lot of his career, in my opinion.
Yeah, Harrison Bryant was the guy that the Texans just traded for from the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe as part of that John Mechie trade.
Okay.
He's coming back. He's going to be back in Houston. It's one of those things. I think Houston ended up with 3 players they wanted to do short-term IR, which the rule is that you can only do 2 at roster cutdowns. Anything more than that, they have to make the initial 53-man roster. So I think that Bryant was probably that guy that they have that agreement with to come back, or they're going to look at, or they have the agreement with him like Denver likely does with Throckmorton to bring him back on the practice squad and be that company guy. But yeah, I'm not seeing either one of these guys for Denver. You talked on Bryant a lot, or for Kobe Bryant a lot, and Harrison Bryant again. Just expect him back in Houston.
Yeah, was he tight end?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, went to like FIU or something, or somewhere down there. Yep. Peter says, okay, there we go. Peter says, were any of your draft favorites from day 3 cut by other teams? Eric, I'll give this to you as we start to wrap up the show. Any day 3 guys? I'm still emerging from the mountains, so I haven't even seen everybody else's. It took me waking up at 4 a.m. this morning to get some work in to talk the Falcon stuff, and staying up last night while getting everything together after the kid got down to get ready for the Broncos stuff as well. So I'm not even sure what else went on in the world for day 3 players.
Yeah, I can name one of them that was one of your guys. Damian Martinez was cut by Seattle.
That's a surprise. I mean, I don't know. He looked good at Miami. I'm shocked. I know that they had other guys, but
he was awful for Seattle this preseason. He got behind, what was it? George Holani, I think is the running back's name, that he got behind early and just was never able to get out of it. The power never materialized in pass protection, never materialized as a runner. Like there was just a lot of issues with him. And then I'd have to take a quick look through all the team's roster cuts. I know that I haven't been able to get a look through all of them. Deuce Vaughn from a couple years ago, he was cut by Dallas. But yeah, in order to really get into it, I'd have to. I'm more familiar with former Broncos that were cut than day 3 picks, because there was a lot of former Broncos, a lot of former starters, and key depth players for the Broncos from previous seasons that were cut by other teams.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I knew that I do like the Broncos roster as it stands. We talked about it, the interior defensive line depth, offensive line depth, long-term. I mean, everyone drink. Nick's banging the same drum as always. But other than that, feel really good about the edge room and the cornerback room being 5 deep. Patrick Surtain spoke really highly of Chris Abrams-Drain yesterday as well, and he had a pretty good camp as well. I know that somebody out there ranked the Broncos cornerback room pretty low, But I mean, we're still kind of waiting to see what Barron does. And if you actually have a quality number 2, I think Moss was good last season, but great. I don't know. But long term, I mean, the 1 through 5, I don't know if there's a better cornerback room than what the Broncos have out there, along with 1 through 5 in their edge room. I mean, really, really just good depth at those 2 spots. Feel good about it. It's almost unfair that we don't have reps for all these guys available, but feel very good about the depth of those 2 spots.
Yeah, it's one of those things that kind of plays into what I was just talking about with former guys getting cut. I mean, Asang Bassi's one of them. How different is this cornerback room from the days of Asang Bassi being a starter to what we have now? Like, it not only speaks to the depth, but it speaks to the talent at the top. And in order to improve the depth, you got to improve the talent at the top first. And the Broncos have done that in this room. It's looking good. And with Chris Abrams-Draine, anytime he has seen the field, he's been absolutely killer in coverage. Some issues against the run. It's why you likely won't see him in this slot. Not the most physical guy in terms of his tackling ability and, defending the alley. But man, he absolutely kills it in coverage. And I wouldn't be surprised if it came out that there were some teams who, I mean, Denver was trying to trade Damari Mathis. They tried very hard. I wouldn't be surprised if like teams they talked to would be like, well, we don't have interest in Mathis, but what about Chris Abrams-Draine? And Denver's like, no. Just because of, some contract stuff that they have coming up with Riley Moss and Jaquan McMillan, that they can be looking at Chris Abrams-Draine for after that, as well as Jahdae Barron being a factor in that. Definitely a guy they want to hold on to. Just this depth is absolutely killer. And it was always a clear 1 through 5 for this cornerback room. It was always a question of, does somebody rise up to be cornerback 6? And that was it. That's where the conversation started. Did somebody rise up to be cornerback 6? And no one did. And this is a very good room that's more realized on the field than we get with like the wide receiver room, for example.
Yeah. Competition gonna be good. Hey, brothers, from Naj, just saying hello. Expectations sky high. A lot of pressure on Sean Payton, Vance Joseph, and Bo Nix particularly. Looking forward to see how we respond. Yeah, big season, and they've not shied away from the expectations. So they've leaned into it. So we will see. Talk is talk until the results in the field materialize. So excited for it and almost a little bit nervous right now. Kind of just that anticipation with all that just energy and expectation. But yeah, we're 10 days away from Broncos football and hopefully opening up a can of you-know-what on Cam Ward and the Titans. So yeah, it's I don't want to, week 1's never a must win, but having that rookie quarterback coming to Denver on a team that was number 1 overall last season at home, if you drop that game here, Broncos country is going to be running around like the sky is falling, which it might be. I don't expect that to happen, but you can't make too much out of one game. But we're excited, but it's almost like a nervous at this point with the expectations getting up there. Thank you so much. 1999 is huge. Naj, appreciate you coming in, hanging out with us, supporting us. Looking forward to seeing you at the meet and greet. Final things here, Eric. We do got to touch on a few more matters of business. Cliff kind of put something out there, but the Broncos website is different. So Denver designated fullback Michael Burton reserve injured and linebacker reserve injured designated to return. Is Burton out for the year?
Burton is out for the year. He ended up having surgery to repair the hamstring. He is done for the year. Drew Sanders is short-term injured reserve.
Okay, so they do have those both on there. So the Broncos fullback room is a question mark right now. I am expecting Atkins to get some of the role. And who's the person they were hyping up? I should know the name. It's all of a sudden just escaping me. The one they brought in.
Adam Prentice?
Prentice. There we go. I was like, I can't remember the name. So I'm expecting him to get the Michael Burton practice squad call up, and then probably an injury happens and you keep him after that, or maybe you can like delay that inevitability with when Atkins comes back.
It's 3 games for practice squad call up, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember. So Prentice is cut. Wouldn't be surprised if he's back on the practice squad. Call up for the first 3 games. And you know what? Nate Atkins, the reason why he wasn't put on short-term injured reserve is because he's way ahead of schedule. He was expected to miss like the first 6 to 10 games, and now they're like, he can be back by week 3 or week 4. So he's way ahead of schedule coming back from the surgery that he had. And so, 3 practice squad call-ups, perfect amount, right? If Nate Atkins ends up missing 3 games, or even if they want to start him slow and he's back for game 3 and doesn't want to just play a lot, Well, there you go. Adam Prentice, practice squad fullback call up, then Nate Atkins. And as you said, maybe another injury happens at that point. Knock on wood. Don't want to see injuries. And then Adam Prentice is then brought up to the active roster, just like they did with Michael Burton last year, which is why I was saying for months that Michael Burton wasn't going to make this roster. Unfortunately, it's because of injury now, but they have their way of doing fullbacks, and that's it.
And you have Drew Sanders as well. So the short term, we'll see what happens with that. I think the Karen A. Reed maybe is easier to sneak on the practice squad after 3-4 weeks, whatever it is. And then maybe Sanders gets a chance back on the roster. We're on watch there. But now that we are closing out here, any final thoughts, Eric? We combed through a lot. I know this is your third day. We have a little bit more information, and we should find out about practice squad today. Again, we're looking like long-term offensive line, defensive line spots that I'm tight end as well. Not really. You might be able to find a tight end long-term, Adam Kroll's of the world, but maybe offensive line and defensive line is hard to find quality. You might be able to find a plugger type there, but it's going to be very much a plugger in more than one sense.
You just gotta say that Kroll is so good that you got his name wrong. You said Adam Kroll, Lucas Kroll.
Lucas. Who is there an Adam Kroll out there?
Adam Trotman.
Okay. Well, then maybe they should do the combined saying thing, but yeah.
But I mean, waiver wire, that time period closes for them to clear in just over an hour and a half, 12 noon Eastern time. So that's getting there. And then not long after that, there'll be the flurry of practice squad signings. Mike, what has me most curious, practice squad, I'm interested by, but I'm really curious. Do the Broncos put in waiver claims? Do they get any? If they don't, who do they put them in on, and where do they end up going? Because that can tell you a lot about where they're looking at improving, and that can kind of give you an insight of where they might be calling other teams for a trade over the next few days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll find out. But overall, I mean, feel pretty good about this roster. Nothing too shocking. I guess the Bailey one, Franklin not making it over Key, keeping all the defensive line that they did when we had questions about that. But overall, looks like a good roster, and I'll be excited to see who exactly they bring in on the practice squad and whichever moves are made surrounding this. Because your 53, it's the initial 53, isn't always the one that you walk out with week one.
Yeah. And I do guys give hat tip to both the work George Payton and Sean Payton have done. 39 players on this initial 53-man roster were on last year's initial 53-man roster. On top of that, they have Tyler Bidet and Dondre Tillman, who both played for the Broncos last year. They just weren't on the initial 53-man roster. So 41 of 53 players were with the Broncos last year. Of the rest, 7 of them are rookies, and then 12 of them, 7 of them are rookies, and the other 5 are free agents and big free agent signings. So it's testament to them and the work they've done to rebuild it, because going back to 2020, 2021, 33 players was the most. When Sean Payton took over, it dropped down to 27 from 2022 to 2023, then went up to 30 for a year 2. Now we're at 39. So shows how quickly they've been turning this thing around.
Yep. So we'll be on watch for defensive line, offensive line, tight end, linebacker. Those are probably the areas for the Broncos. I doubt running back. Doubt maybe a safety if you want to push Key down. Yeah, definitely not quarterback with how.
No, I think quarterback is one to keep an eye on.
Oh, for practice squad?
No, for the roster.
You think they'd keep 3?
I think Payton would love to find a third quarterback for the roster. Just part of it being is the emergency third quarterback can't be a practice squad call up anymore.
Yeah,
and I think he wants that emergency third quarterback, just because he doesn't want to be in a situation where, knock on wood, Bo Nix goes down, Jared Stidham goes down, and then what? Are you throwing RJ Harvey back there, who's a former quarterback recruit?
Davis Webb, baby.
What the Broncos try to do in that one game, get their coach out there. Yeah.
Kendall Hinton, Hall of Famer.
I'm not sure they do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some kind of attempt or hear about them trying to make some kind of attempt to add a third quarterback to the roster.
Man, okay, I was not expecting that. Well, Eric leaving a little nugget there. We'll keep an eye out. We know how much Sean Payton loved his pet. That was Zach Wilson last season as well. So, and Webb. So And when you got somebody like Webb, if you can bring in a talented person to, bring in, it's always good to be developing quarterbacks. So exciting. Good show today. Appreciate you guys holding down the fort for me. Well, I missed my first show since Natalie was in the hospital for a month in June. So good to get out there. My legs are killing me. I need to go stretch, ice up, and have a good rest of your day. Eric, final thoughts? I appreciate all the super chat folks coming in too. Michael Ronquillo, of course, Bookmaster joining us as a member. You guys not as high on the memberships today, so should definitely be adding us. Troy Boer, good to see you. Jason Bonney, of course. Naj, killing it. Shout out to all of you guys, of course. Eric, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a flurry of moves over the next 2 hours, 3 hours. A lot of changes, and it's part of the fun. I mean, I love the draft. I love the building the roster aspect of it, and practice squad. You always get those guys who end up contributing to the team during the season off the practice squad. Tyler Bidet, Dondre Tillman from last year, as an example. And it's nice to see who makes it for the practice squad as guys to keep an eye on for next year to make the roster.
Yeah. God, exciting. We're right around the corner here. Home stretch. Appreciate it. Make sure you're following Eric and I on Twitter. Eric is at, how do I get rid of that? There we go. Eric is at Erick Trickel. I'm at Kendell MHH. Also follow us at MHH Pod, as well as the Mile High Huddle. We're at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And as that ticker says there, please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. That's the number one place you can follow us. We had issues with Facebook today. Facebook just has issues. I don't know what's going on the metaverse side, but YouTube is the number one place. So if you are joining us on Facebook or wondering what's going on, there might be an issue through the Facebook side. But it's not that we don't want you guys over on watching us Facebook, but we just not as good. So get us over on YouTube if you can. Also shout out to Dylan, work in the background, dialing us up for that read at the end, and also holding down the fort Monday morning. So good to see everybody. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see how the practice squad shakes out. Choose kindness and compassion. Go Broncos.